Welcome to the School of Love, the place where miracles are normal. Hello and welcome to the School of Love, the place where we learn practical tools based on scientific research towards improving ourselves, living life to its fullest, and contributing to the best of our abilities to the world around us. I am Dr. Grajdian, and I am a professor of media studies and anthropology at Hiroshima University. In my free time, I am doing my best to guide you in building up a life of contentment, joy, and fulfillment while applying lessons learned in school to overcome the difficulties, challenges, and insecurities of the real world. In today's video, I talk about some ways in which us women can become better or at least good enough partners as girlfriends, wives, or lovers. I deliver 10 guidelines on how to build oneself up sustainably. I begin by defining what is a good enough partner, which is not a mediocre partner, just a disclaimer, and why it is important to strive to be good enough instead of these perfection ideals perpetuated by media. And why it is important to encourage the same in others, so that by the end of this video, you will have the tools to start living, moving, thinking like a person who is good enough, not as a sign of mediocrity or resignation, which is more often the case, but out of self-awareness and free will, and not, again, due to social constraints. And now, first things first, that is two disclaimers. The first disclaimer serves to strongly emphasize the fact that this YouTube channel is a School of Love is not part of my educational and research activities at Hiroshima University. It is nonetheless part of my privilege, joy, and sense of duty to propagate and implement knowledge, information, as well as motivation and inspiration outside the limited framework of academic endeavors. Together, we can build up a better tomorrow for as many of us as possible. The second disclaimer relates to the fact that I am a trained musician and musicologist, not a psychologist, therapist, or counselor. The ideas I am sharing in my videos reflect my deep-going preoccupation with life, my own life and other people's life, and express the results of my experiences, research, and, for better or for worse, my failures, as well as my recovery from those failures, recovery which is continuously ongoing. The ideas expressed in the video on this channel named The School of Love cannot and may not and must not replace the consultation with specialists in whichever area of your life you might have questions or you might struggle with. If you are new to the channel, at this moment I would like to ask you to please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting. Thank you very, very much. This helps us not only with that mysterious algorithm, which seems to dominate the galaxy of YouTube, but also with contributing to the expansion of the community of humans doing their best to impact positively the world and those around them by discovering their authentic selves and living life wholeheartedly. Thanks again. And now, let's dive right into today's topic, which is, as I said, some ideas, 10 guidelines on how to become a good enough lover, girlfriend, wife, and partner. There's a second part or second video on this topic because I thought it is too important. Yeah, it is too important to just allow it in one video, which was also shot almost 1 year ago. And meanwhile, I myself became more grown up and I have new ideas which I would like to share with you. So why is it important to what is a good enough partner? Firstly, so a good enough partner is someone who is self-aware of hers, and I'll talk exclusively from my perspective as a woman. This video is actually for women, not so much for men. I'm not a man, and I have struggles in understanding men, and I would never dare to tell people how to tell men how to do things because I don't know how it is to be a man. So this video is mainly for women or for men who are interested in women to understand women and themselves, as the beautiful creatures that we are. Haha. So the first step is, so what is a good enough partner? What is a good enough wife, girlfriend, lover? Is someone who is not swept away by this perfection ideals propagated by the media, and which are also somehow implemented in our childhood and adolescence, in our school years, which are also very gendered. So nowadays things are apparently changing. I see this with my children, but they are changing very slowly, and there is like education is still very gendered, for better or for worse. I don't really have an opinion on that. As I always say, it's important to deliver that level of education which allows humans to continue their own education later on after school, and which allows them to discover their better self, their best self. And if this is a sort of gendered education, because gender is essentially one of, yeah, probably the fundamental way in which we identify. Before anything, before knowing we are citizens of the world, before knowing any language, before knowing any country, we know I am a boy or a girl. Yeah, so gender is so fundamental part of our identity that so simply switching it around is not an option. So, what is and a good enough partner, a female, good enough lover, wife, girlfriend, is not someone who is perfect, but someone who is aware of her own femininity and of this inherent polarization which results towards men, which is not is a good thing. We need this polarization, femininity and masculinity, yin and yang, beginning and end, because everything belongs to the natural world of things, and we should, like, it's not healthy and it's not wise to somehow fight against natural order of things. But as humans, we have the ability to observe it and to think about it, and even more importantly, to think critically about it. And this is what this video is about. It's about how can we become good enough without being mediocre or resignated. So actually, essentially giving up who we are, because we don't really know who we are. And then, so that from a place of being good enough and self-secure in myself, how can I become better? The first step, in my opinion, and this is important also for oneself, but also for the sense of positivity and so healthy positivity, and confidence, which radiates and then encourages the others to do the same. So the first idea, the first guideline would be to learn the three-dimensional structure of human identity, which is, this is not original. I have seen it in Neo Genesis Evangelion, which is an animation product, an animation television series initially from mid-90s in Japan, and where one of the main characters was described as this tri-dimensional identity, as having this tri-dimensional identity as a mother, as a woman, and as a scientist, as a researcher. And this three-dimensional structure of a woman, we can extrapolate it to men as well, as a husband, as a father, as a man, and then as a researcher or a citizen of the world. So what you can do is become aware that as a mother, you are someone who is putting out in the world, is giving birth to the next generation of humans, of little humans. So this is your motherly side. But as a woman, you are self-aware of your own sexuality, yeah, which you have to preserve throughout your life. I strongly believe in this. In this continuation of sexual activity throughout our lives, and we are becoming, because we live such long lives, this idea of eternal monogamy becomes increasingly unsustainable. So we'll become at some point, all of us, some sort of serial monogamists, which was the standard for wealthy men in the past. So this is the second dimension. The third dimension is becoming, like in Neo Genesis Evangelion, the main character was a researcher, but more generally speaking, is about being a citizen, so being a member of the larger society. So not your immediate social structure, like a partner to your to your partner, a mother to your children, but actually a member of the macro system. So the second step, or the second guideline in this procedure of becoming a good enough lover, wife, partner, is to divide this three-dimensional identity into priorities. Because throughout your life, so it's healthy to have, so over mid to long term, to have a healthy balance between the three dimensions. But this is not sustainable like short term. If, for instance, in your early 20s or late teens and early in 20s, probably the woman dimension, so the sexual dimension and the professional dimension will take the forefront. But then at some point, if you decide to have children, if you choose to have these children, becoming a mother and being a mother will be, at least for 2 years, 3 years, at the center of your identity. But then again, you have to learn to come back to becoming a woman again, or to be a woman again, and then so a partner for your partner, and then to become a citizen or a contributor to the macro dimension of the society. So it's important to understand the flexibility of this three-dimensional structure of female identity, and to understand that different periods of time will require a prioritization of these dimensions. They do not stay the same, and this is what's so beautiful about human identity, is that if we are aware of these three dimensions, we can negotiate our own identity. We can negotiate who we are, and we can build up on this negotiation. They are not fixed. We are not born as mothers. We are not born as daughters. We are not born as sexual beings. We are born as complex entities, and due to our self-awareness and our abilities to develop self-awareness, we can negotiate these dimensions of our identity. The third step, which is difficult, but it's so important that I put it so at the very beginning, is to learn to set and enforce boundaries. So what does it mean, healthy boundaries? I have another video on boundaries and healthy boundaries, and what are not healthy boundaries, or so-called walls, which actually keep people away from you, or a lack of boundaries, which allow, essentially, you don't know who you are, and allow everyone to do whatever they want. So the third step, which is, as I said, so important, is to set and enforce boundaries, which is a way of showing people who you are, what you're going to put up with what you're going to allow, and where your level of acceptance and tolerance ends. They are very important. Again, as someone who has struggled with this topic, with this area of my life for decades, I know how difficult it is. It's very important. So learning to say no, not postponing, not avoiding, not giving in, not submitting, not complaining, not behaving passive aggressively. No, saying no. This does not suit me. It might have suited me in the past, but no, not anymore. There are tons of literature everywhere, both published and virtual, on the topic of setting boundaries, of setting healthy boundaries, and then on enforcing the consequences when those boundaries are violated. So, but this is very important. In order to be a good person to the others, in order to be a good lover, a good wife, a good girlfriend, setting boundaries, yeah, and being consistent in enforcing, in protecting your boundaries, and then enforcing the consequences, the negative consequences usually, when those boundaries are not respected. And even equally important is to learn how to have flexible boundaries. This means when you are 15, specific boundaries are required, but when you're 25, 35, 40, 60, 100, different boundaries are required. And to adapt those boundaries to your age, to the situation of your life, is also a very important skill to be learned. But learn to set and enforce boundaries is crucial. Number 4 relates to love. It's also important because it's important to learn to love in a healthy manner the members of your family, both immediate and extended. How do you develop this? First step, which is number 5, is clear communication. So communication skills cannot be overrated. Learning to communicate in a clear manner and make sure that the other person understands what you mean and not just assumes whatever he or she wants. And then make sure that they also communicate with you. This leads to healthy love. This leads to sustainable love, to sustainable relationships over time. Yeah, so clear communication on your sides. The reverse of that is to learn to listen constructively. So listening, I will say probably in half of my videos, listening is a superpower. Learn to listen constructively, which means most of the time, shut up, keep quiet, and listen. Not only perceiving what the other person has to say, but moreover, immersing yourself into what they want to say, to explore with you. So this is number 6, I think. Number 6, learn to listen openly, empathetically, non-judgmentally. Again, listening non-judgmentally. Don't think about what you want to reply. Don't think about what you want to about you feeling attacked or whatever. Just listen and pause. You don't have to reply or to respond immediately or to react immediately. Just pause and make sure that you understand what the other person is telling you or trying to convey to you. Not everybody is a super communicator. No, but not everybody is listening to my videos on YouTube. Some of them are really way too busy and way too caught up in their own universe to even start thinking about their own problems. So it's very important to developing clear, healthy communication, empathetic, non-judgmental listening, and number 7, quality time. So spending time with someone just for the sake of being there with them, it's not the solution of being a good participant in any sort of these interhuman interactions. Maybe because my love language is the biggest way you can show to me that you love me is by spending time with me. And on the same level, they say you have a major love language. The second one is a secondary language. So but for me, it's equally important is spend quality time with me and acts of service. So they say this is nature, genetic, whatever. I think in my case, it was very strongly due to my background. But spend quality time with them. Prepare the time you're spending with them. Not just be there, but be present. Show them that you care by being there with them, by communicating and by listening. Most people want just to talk about themselves and be listened to. So these are the 3 things. Learn to love in a healthy manner with your family encompasses 3 elements. Clear communication, yeah. Make sure that they understand what you're talking about and then understand in a constructive manner. Listen empathetically and non-judgmentally, and make sure that you understand what they're telling you, and just listen, not thinking about what you might reply. And thirdly, quality time. Spend good time with them. Time in which you are present with them without your phone, without your TV, without doing something else at the same time, like cooking, or like cleaning, or like folding laundry, whatever people do at the same time while meeting other people. No, just be there with them, present. 2 hours a week, 2 hours a year, but be present. So next, number 8 is finances. In order to be a good partner, you have to be financially independent. So as soon as you become legally an adult, take full responsibility for your finances and strive to become financially independent as soon as possible. So to differentiate from your family of origin. Many people think, no, as a wife, well, you look for a husband, or as a woman, you look for a husband, and he's going to support you. And this is still very widespread in the world, and I respect that. In my opinion, though, from observing free societies, very different societies, like Romania, Germany, and Japan, the best partners, as women, the best partners, those who actually understand their husbands, their lovers, their boyfriends, and can support them in a manner which feels as support and not as blackmail or whatever, are the women who are financially independent. And you don't have to be financially independent forever. Let's say at some point you do want to have children, and having children implies leaving the paid workforce for a while, so that you can take care of the children. I'll have a different video on how to be a good I have a different video on how to be a good mother, but I'll make another one on how to be a good enough mother, while at the same time not losing yourself in motherhood, because motherhood is a period of time. It's not the life itself, not anymore. When humans used to live 20 years, and most women died in childbirth or the consequences of the childbirth, being a woman was fundamental was crucial, was essential for the survival of the species, and they were raised as such. But nowadays, this is not the case anymore. Being a mother is a period of time in your life, and if we're going to live indeed 80, 90, 100 years, being a mother is really less than, 5%, 6% of your life. Yeah, not half of your life as it used to be. So, and becoming financially independent will lead to you enjoying this period of time in which you are focusing on your child and on your family, if you choose to have a child within the family, and to be self-secure, because you jump back into the labor force after your child is big enough to go to kindergarten, for instance, or to daycare. So becoming financially independent, financially literate, financially powerful, in my opinion, is a very, very important element of becoming a good enough partner for whomever you choose to be a partner. Again, I'm talking from the perspective of a heterosexual woman, but I suppose, or I don't know actually. So please correct me in the comments. Number 9. So it's important to help others, those around you, even your partner, to help them out financially, emotionally, and so on. But it's very important not to get exploited and not to develop a savior or nurse syndrome mentality. It's important, and this is why all these steps comes to boundaries, healthy love. They are all there so that you can be there for them. You can be and support them and help them, but do not become their helper, their savior. They are supposed to have their own identity. Your partner is supposed to have his own identity, his own sense of self, his own life at the end of the day. Again, if we indeed live so long lives, serial monogamy will become the norm rather than the exception in the future. Number 10, which is very important. If you start to feel resentment, which is deadly because it leads to contempt, and contempt is the worst of the 5 horsemen of the apocalypse, as this John Gottman, one of the, and probably the most important researcher in the field of love, marriage, and family, says the force, I don't remember at the moment the other 3, but contempt is the worst of the force horsemen of marriage apocalypse or partnership apocalypse. And the final sure way to go to get to a contempt is resentment. So if you start to feel resentment towards your partner for whatever reasons, back off immediately. Resentment, as I said, leads to contempt automatically after a while. And in order to avoid this, go back to number 3 and 4. So boundaries and healthy love, and practice them. Do not try to resolve resentment by discussing with your partner. It never works. Of course, you can go to marriage counseling. Of course, you can go to therapy, but they will tell you the same. Yeah, they will tell you boundaries, enforce boundaries, and love health. Don't lose yourself in your partnership. You are who you are. You are in this partnership because you choose to be in this partnership and not because you have to. Um, and knowing that living is an option also helps. So you are there because you decide to, not because you have to. Nowadays, go to number 8, financially. If you're financially independent, you are in that relationship because you choose to, because you love him, not because you have to, because you're dependent on him financially. This is why it's so important for him as well, because he knows she's here with me, and she keeps on being with me because she is deciding this, not because she needs me for financial reasons. This is why it's so important. And well, I have a bonus. It was so important I couldn't just leave it out. That's why number 11 is to strive for reciprocity in all interhuman interactions, both private and professional. And this applies even more strongly to this sort of intimate relationships with a partner. So reciprocity, again, because if you do too much for him, there are moments where each of us, so each partner does more for the other than the other one. Because, and this is the beautiful part of human interactions, sometimes you're busy, so I help you. Sometimes you're busy. Sometimes I am busy. You help and support me, and you show understanding. And you do this not because, and we are doing this not because we have to, but because we choose to, as late modern humans who have this ability to reflect upon ourselves. So as soon as you observe resentment, it is usually, in my experience, and also what literature says, that it's a lack of it's a perceived lack of reciprocity. And then you go back to number 3 and 4, and before starting a discussion with your partner, any stride, or even better, before starting to behave passive aggressively, which is deadly again, or start keeping scores, is even worse. Yeah, I did that for you, you have to do this for me, you did this, so I may do that. But as soon, and resentment actually usually results from a perceived lack of reciprocity. So in that case, go back to number 3 and 4 and look where your contribution to that situation is. So always take first accountability for your position, and then start judging and start questioning your partner. I'm not saying he's innocent or not guilty, but look in yourself first and then extrapolate that. So I hope this helps. I hope the insights delivered in this video help you become a good enough partner, lover, girlfriend, wife, whatever. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you very soon again. Love and peace to you all.